Right, this is for year 8 and it's the week beginning the 8th of June. This is your one lesson of the week. So first of all, start with your title. How did a change in farming help the Industrial Revolution? Last lesson you looked at the concept of the Industrial Revolution. You understood that it was big dramatic change, lots of changes to do with things like technology and where people lived, what jobs people had, and also to do with obviously the change in farming. So specifically for today's lesson, we're asking you to identify some changes to farming. So how does it change? To explain the changes, to try and think about why they obviously would have those changes. And then to evaluate the success of the changes in helping Britain become rich and powerful. So out of the changes, which change was like really, really important? So first thing for you to do. So you've got to look at this picture and then write down some of the problems you can see with farming in the 1700s. So if you have a little look, you've got all these little boxes here and all of those are going to help you. All right, so that's the first thing you need to do, write down some problems. You don't need to copy those statements out in full. You can definitely reduce them down. That's the first task. Right, all you need to do with this is just have a read of it. Make sure you get your head round, because once you've read it, you are going to need to do some tasks from this slide. So take your time, read it through, make sure you understand it. Right, the next few slides are to do with different flight paths. So you need to remember what flight path you're on for history. So if you are a flight path of a 2 to a 3, then what we've asked you to do is to have a look at these bullet points here and just pick out which one you think is the correct statement. So you've got some options and then write down your correct statement. As ever, there will be a slide to help you self-assess. So make sure you are always self-assessing. All right, so that's for a flight path of 2 to 3. If you are a 4 to a 5 or a 5 to a 6, okay, again, you've got some bullet points, but this time there are some words missing. Right, don't forget that slide that you read through will have all the information that you need. Again, can you make sure that you self-assess? There is a slide to help you. If you've got a flight path for 7 to 8, this time read the statements, and if they're true, brilliant, but if they're false, you need to obviously then correct them. Again, there is a slide for self-assessment. Make sure you self-assess. Right, now we're going to look at some of the key changes. So what you need to do is write down the subheading, enclosure, which you can see at the top there, and then read the information. Can you now summarise that into no more than 30 words? There's a challenge at the bottom, and it's always good to obviously complete that challenge. Can you think of any benefits or any positives, anything good that resulted from, that was an effect of, that was a consequence of enclosure? Next, we've got a couple of little pictures. So can you spot the difference between the two? What has changed with between the picture here and the picture there? Right, next little subheading, next obviously idea about change. So can you write down something saying new ideas? This time what you need to do is read all that information and create 4 quiz questions that include obviously an answer from there. If you don't know what we mean, there is an example here. So an example quiz question can be, what was the 4-course rotation? And then the answer, growing 4 different crops over 4 years in 4 different fields. So you need to come up with 4 questions. Question, answer, question, answer. Use the information here to help you. Right, next change is new equipment. So write down the subtitle for this one. And the task for this, summarise the information into no more than 2 bullet points. All right, so read it all down and just reduce it to 2 bullet points. There is a little support slide, just highlighting some keywords if you're not sure what to do. Right, then another change, so it's the idea of looking at the new animals. So again, write down the subtitle. Now you need to explain how and why animals got so big after 1700. And challenge, try and use the phrase selective breeding. So read the information here, read this information here, and explain how and why animals got bigger. There is a support slide if you're not sure how to structure your answer. There's 3 little bullet points to help you there. And then the last bit of the lesson, convert the highlighted words into pictures. So the idea of growing a surplus, you then need to convert that word surplus into a picture. The idea of full course crop rotation, turn the red bit into a picture. Specialisation and selective breeding. Once you've finished the lesson, you've got an understanding of the changes that happen to farming, an explanation of those changes, and hopefully some sort of evaluation of obviously what was really important. And don't forget, farming is a key element of the Industrial Revolution, because if Britain got richer and more powerful, it needed farming to support that, because you cannot grow your population without the food. And you cannot free up people from working in the countryside to move to those towns to enable obviously the Industrial Revolution in the factories. All right, so it's all connected together. All right, so that's that lesson completed. Well done.